Would you like an opinion on a financial matter you're dealing with? Whether it's about retirement, investments, taxes, or 401ks, Scott Hansen and Pat McClain would like to help you by answering your call. To join Allworth's Money Matters, call now at 833-99-WORTH. That's 833-99-WORTH.
Welcome to Allworth's Money Matters. Scott Hansen.
Pat McClain, thanks for being with us.
Yep, glad you are part of our program. Without you, we wouldn't exist. Both myself and my co-host, we're both financial advisors, certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant. Been doing this stuff for
30 years.
3 decades.
30 years.
Yeah, the program about 30 years too. So it's good having you. If you want to be part of our program, we love taking your calls and answering your questions. Maybe you're working with an advisor now and you just want a second opinion. Maybe you do things on your own. You want to run an idea by us. Maybe someone's trying to sell you something and you're wondering if it makes the most sense for you. And anything that's related to finances or whatnot, send us an email at questions@moneymatters.com or give us a call at 833-99-WORTH. And we will schedule time. We've got some good calls lined up for today.
Yes, and we're recording this show on Thursday, November 14th at 9.
Just
because things change so fast.
Yeah, that way something weird happens on Friday and the Dow's down 1,000 or up 1,000.
You're like, what are these guys talking about? But I wanted to talk a little bit about Bitcoin. Wow, wake the kids, call the neighbors, and Tesla stock. So Bitcoin.
How about Dogecoin? Doge.
That's
up to.
Oh, it isn't Doge.
That was like a meme, like a
It
joke,
was that
and
dog.
that Musk tweeted about it a few years back, and the thing shot up, and and that's what they're calling the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, like the coin.
Oh, I didn't catch
that. That's
that.
exactly it.
Oh, that makes sense.
I mean, Elon's got a strange sense of humor. He thinks it's
likes
hilarious.
Everything is X with Elon. I started that book you told me about by Walter Isaacson. I had read one other book, but this one's much better about Elon.
I would actually like to get Walter Isaacson's opinion on how much Elon should be involved in the government or not. Here's someone who spent 2 years.
Oh, it's not going to. He won't be involved very long. I'll give it 6 months before Trump tires of him. Before Trump just says, you're getting too much attention. The spotlight needs to be on me. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting
to watch.
The whole
But
thing's
John
gonna be
Paulson
interesting.
bailed out. I don't remember what position they were talking to him, but he said, look, my financial interests are such that I can't do a job for the government because it conflicts. And I thought, good for him.
It's interesting. This morning I was listening to an interview with Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
He's the founder of PayPal, founder of Palantir.
Lots of things.
Yeah, and he had an interesting perspective on. He's pretty excited right now. And then I heard an interview the other day with Bill Ackman, big hedge fund manager, who
He's contrary.
He's never been as excited about the U.S. economy as
Really?
He's like giddy. I mean, he really believes that that Trump's going to make the government more efficient, and
we'll see.
And the economy's going to take off and start having good growth and all that.
We'll see.
I know. He's got roughly 18 months.
Well, look. Let's see.
Till the election cycle's starting to get too close.
Let's wait.
But what we've seen happen since that time
is
Bitcoin as the time it's $90,000 a coin.
Crazy.
Coin is. And it was what, 60,000
a month ago,
a week ago, or whatever it was.
Whatever Bitcoin is, right? Whatever that means, it was
70,000.
Purely, it is the most speculative thing I think I've ever seen is Bitcoin. Above and beyond even gambling, like going to. But Tesla stock is what confuses.
There's one on the Bitcoin. It's got a market cap of $1.7 trillion.
Crazy.
Just Bitcoin. Yeah, the other coins, and it's about $2.5 trillion.
Crazy.
Today. So something that
has no intrinsic value.
No intrinsic value. It's not physical whatsoever.
The price is only dependent upon
what someone else is willing to pay.
Generates no income.
Does nothing.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And investors have bid it up so that they believe.
Speculators.
Thank you. That they believe this Bitcoin is worth.
Yeah. In this murky little.
And look, if you want to own some Bitcoin, fine. But
have at it. Just
realize
recognize what it is.
It's speculative. It's not.
Recognize what it is.
And if you owned it prior and sold it when it was down, I would highly discourage you from owning it again. Right? So,
correct.
I mean, if
you may not have the emotional temperament to. I don't own any.
Whether it's emotional temperament or just.
I don't.
In investing, Pat, it's not just the emotions. It's having a sound thesis.
Correct. An investment thesis.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I can't own it. I just can't get my head around the fact that it.
Me too.
People that don't trust banks, like you think about the whole digital, right, with what's his name, Sam Bankman-Fried. They didn't trust banks, but they trusted each other? Come on. Really? You don't trust a bank, but you're going to trust Sam Bankman-Fried?
Well, who doesn't trust a bank?
Lots of people don't trust banks. That's why this digital currency, they don't trust the government's ability to track the currency. Let's put it that way.
All right.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Tesla.
Finish off on the Bitcoin.
Okay.
Here's how I view it. Because Scott, as you know, Pat, being in this business long enough, invariably people give you this idea, and you really should do this, and they have a lot of opinions for how I should live my life. And like on Bitcoin, here's my view. I don't own it. Had I bought some at $5,000 a coin, would I be happy today? Of course. But I'm happy anyway. And my life's fine with or without it.
Yes.
I've done good financial planning over the years. It's highly speculative, in my opinion. It is speculative. There's not even an opinion on that. It's highly speculative. Whether or not it's going to be worth $100,000, $1 million a coin 10 years out, nobody knows.
No one knows.
It can just as easy go back down to nothing.
Hey, they could release more Bitcoin, right?
Well, they got to mine it.
Says who?
Well, they can always come up with a new coin, which has happened as well.
Yeah, but they say they have to mine it. They have to mine it. But what happens if the guy that created it, they don't even know who it is?
I don't think they know who it is.
Yeah. What happens if he just has like a whole store of this thing and he releases a ton into the market?
Or someone finds a way to
find lost wallets. I know my son had lost his wallet. He probably had 8 or 10 Bitcoin in it.
What?
Yeah, he when he was
8 or 10 Bitcoin.
Yes, he used it to buy a fake ID when he was a freshman in college.
Yeah, my son did too. I don't know if it was Bitcoin or some other. I think we talked about it a couple months ago.
Yes. Yeah, anyway,
but he would have had 10 Bitcoin right now.
What are you gonna do? I mean, he did the transaction. He needed the Bitcoin to buy the fake ID. And he told me this after the fact. And by the way, I wouldn't have had an opinion one way or the other. He's 19 at the time, so do what you want to do. I mean, buy a fake ID.
I remember having dinner in Boston with my son. He went to Boston College, and we went out to family dinner.
Did he?
And with his fake ID, and I'm like, what? Like,
what are you going to do?
My wife says, "Hey, I'm not going to lie if they ask me your age, so it's on you, son."
It's
whatever.
on you.
Yeah.
Actually, we were going into a like a bar, and they were IDing people at the door, and my son, this was my
some of those fake IDs they get caught in
those
machines.
They took his ID and they said, "This is a fake ID." And I started laughing. I thought it was so funny. And then the guy hands it back to him. I go, "Why are you giving it back to him?" He goes, "Well, you're here. You're his dad."
What's he?
He goes, "Yeah." But I thought it was so funny, and my son was.
It's funny,
so mad at me. He's like, "What are you laughing at, Dad?"
And young parents right now are thinking, "What is wrong with those guys?" Like,
wait.
Yeah, right. It's amazing the things you get comfortable with.
Wait.
Whatever.
I'm never gonna let my kid do that.
Yeah. They do their own thing. Anyway,
can we talk about Tesla now?
Yes.
So Tesla stock way up, which just confuses me. Because aren't they the Trump administration is talking about taking away subsidies for electric vehicles and then supporting more gas powered. And I'm thinking, well, shouldn't this Tesla stock actually be down? But because it's it's all in the Trump orbit. And I'm not saying negative or positive about Trump. I mean, I don't.
So a month ago, it was roughly $220 a share. Today, it's roughly $320 a share.
35%. 30%.
Well, 50% increase.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. 30 by...
Yeah, okay.
Depends where you start the number.
That's right.
50 sounds better. 50% growth in a month.
Yes. Crazy.
Yeah, for a big company, right? It's like little companies can grow 50%. And just even the market cap's over $1 trillion.
But there's nothing.
So we had $350 billion of quote unquote value
from wherever.
Right.
Yeah. This is where it starts getting into speculation. But when you think about the fundamentals for Tesla, should not that stock be down?
It's people are betting on Musk.
They're betting on him.
But he has all these different companies starting to AI. Like, what does he carve off?
Yeah. How does he take one from the other?
Yes.
Well, he did it. I mean, they bailed out Solar City. He merged it with Tesla because it was dying. It was his cousin. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. But now I have Tesla solar panels, though.
Do you?
Yeah, because I had Solar City solar panels.
Oh, now
it's Tesla.
Oh, how do they work for you? Do you know?
Fine until you have to redo your roof.
Oh.
Then it was a real pain. But anyway, that's another story. It
It
wasn't that easy to get a hold of anyone at Tesla either, for that matter.
Actually, I've heard that about people that own the Tesla cars.
The car too? You got everything's through the app, and then it's
Actually, I had a client that actually set up. He actually stood in the showroom, and then because he couldn't get his car serviced, he stood in the middle of the showroom and told anyone looking for a Tesla car how bad the service was. So,
are you kidding me?
No, because they were.
And some people, we're not saying negative or positive about Tesla,
but he couldn't get them to service it, and they kept putting them off and putting them off and putting them off. And he said, "I'm just going to come down to your dealership and stand in the lobby and tell everyone what bad service you guys provide when they come in to look for a car." And they took care of him.
Well, obviously. Let's take a couple calls, and then I want to chat about commercial real estate.
Oh, a little bit, yes.
Yeah. So
I have a ton of opinions on that.
Anyway, let's take some calls. If you want to join us, you can send us an email, questions@moneymatters.com. And that's probably the simplest way, questions@moneymatters.com. Or call us at 833-99-WORTH. Let's talk with Eric. Eric, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi, Pat and Scott. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Got a question on additional mortgage payment, and then also once I give you all the numbers, just general thoughts on kind of my wife and I's overall situation.
All right.
So not really your typical client. Don't have a lot of money. I think we started really late in life. Other than a good military pension, I think we're behind, but we're making good choices now.
Slow down, Eric. You weren't able to save a lot of money while you were in the military? Am I hearing this right? You weren't making those fat stacks?
Well, yeah, it's a little hard to do, but
no,
thank you for your service.
Thank you. We get it. We get it.
Guys. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to find some extra ends there.
No kidding.
But yeah, we overcame some bad decisions. We mostly agree about the future and how to budget our money currently. Like I said, I think I know your answer because I've heard you talk many times about additional mortgage payments to other listeners, other callers. But still, just wanted your thoughts.
How old are you?
Wife and I are both 46. Oh, here we go. I think I'm gonna try and impress you. I think I got all the numbers ready for you guys.
Okay,
all right,
perfect.
What's the house worth?
All right. We're wife and I are 46. We have one adult kid out of the house.
Wow, good for you.
House is worth $770. We have a 30-year fixed mortgage. Current remaining balance is $607. Mortgage payment is $3,300 a month.
What's the interest rate?
2.125 interest rate.
2.25?
2.125.
Is that a 15-year mortgage?
30-year VA.
Wow.
That's important too,
Okay.
VA.
I was going to say that was the lowest 30-year mortgage I've ever heard.
That's incredible. All right,
Do
we know
not
the answer.
pay extra
Don't
payments
pay
on that.
a penny more on this thing. In fact, call them up and see if they'll extend it to a 60-year mortgage. Unbelievable.
Okay, that's exactly what I thought you were going to say, just because of the cost of money. And, I really am only making, over the course of these additional payments, one additional payment every year. And
I wouldn't make any additional payments. It's 2.25%, a 2.125%.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I mean, if you could borrow more money, I'd say borrow more money at 2.125%.
Yeah.
If I could borrow money at 2.125%, I'd do it all day long.
If I could borrow money at 2.125%, I'd retire.
Borrow $1 billion at 2.125%.
I'd borrow $1 billion at 2.125%, and I'd lend it almost like banks do. It's weird.
I mean, but if let's say you want to retire at 65 or whatever the number is, and you might calculate what the balance will be at that time and say, hey, maybe we have a side fund that we set up, which this is you still wouldn't want to pay off the mortgage then, but at least something so you've got the cash equivalent so you can
match maturities.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the next? Give us the rest of the financial situation. We'll give you a little tune up there.
I appreciate it, because that's what we're trying to do, is be diverse and efficient so that we can really make headway smartly. So salary is $187. My military retirement, $4,800 a month, and our health insurance comes out of that. I get additional VA disability of $2,100 a month. Both of those have cost of living adjustments annually.
If Eric, if you talked about how you're behind on the game, if you calculated the net present value of that roughly $7,000 a month pension and
part of it tax free, it's worth millions.
Massive.
It's worth millions.
Yeah. I got 1.6 over the next 20 years.
Oh, got it. You did the math. Okay. So you get it. So when you say you're behind, you're not necessarily behind.
Well, if it wasn't for the retirement, I'd be freaking out right now. But
if I didn't, but if I had eggs, I'd have bacon and eggs. If I had bacon, it is. It is there. So okay. So $84,000 in benefits, veterans benefit, a portion of which is tax free.
Yep. 401k, 65k. I maxed the employer contributions, and I maxed the 401k this year, but I didn't do it last year. But from the foreseeable future, I don't see any reason why we're not going to max it out.
Okay.
I have a separate IRA with 18.5. I maxed it out last year, and I'll max it out this year. Separate brokerage account, 28,000. High interest savings account, money market account. I got 26,000 at 4.25%. I've been watching that one because it's already gone down 0.25%. So just maybe possibly move that to another higher one.
Yeah, you're probably okay.
I've got 2 life insurance policies. I'm only the sole income in the house. So one through work and another one through the insurance company, totaling $3.4 million. I've got 2 car payments. One of them will be paid off in January, or I might just pay that off early. It just depends. That'll clear up some additional money to put towards retirement savings. And anything outside of that in the budget, I'm putting in about $1,900 into emergency savings account.
And what's the outstanding balance on the car?
The one car is only about $1,300. The other one still has 4 years. Still it's about like 45,000. I think.
Have you been in this ballpark salary area for the last few years?
Yeah. So I retired 3 years ago, and since then I started at a little bit less, but the last 2 years.
Okay. And what were you making before you retired?
More like 90,000 total.
Okay. So some of this you're just catching up on some things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
a lot of debt, a lot of consumer debt out of the way.
Okay. You're perfect. Look,
yeah,
look, you're perfect.
So
here's what.
You're not spending all the money that's coming in now. You have been catching up on some stuff.
Yeah, my wife likes to spend all the money got coming in, but I got to make sure to reel that in.
So what is the interest rate on the car?
The one that's left over, I think, is 2.9%. The one I have 4 years left on. I said I'm not worried about the one that only has $1,300 left. That's,
all right.
That's over in January.
I would, if I were in your situation, I'd contribute the absolute maximum to the 401k.
And then you would
pay off the cars.
But it's 2.9%. It's fixed. So what's the point? He's earning higher than that. And then you would what, Scott? You'd convert that IRA to a Roth. And then you'd make a contribution to the IRA every year, and you convert it to the Roth.
A non-deductible. I'd convert your. Well, he's got the 18,000.
I know, but he just put those in the last couple of years. So what you want to do is.
You guys would say that because I'll probably be in a lower income bracket when I actually retire.
No.
I don't think so.
I would talk to the advisor about when we see one for sure.
Okay,
write that down.
So what you want to do is you want to convert that existing IRA for both you and your spouse into a Roth IRA. And then you want to actually make that contribution every year and convert it the very next day. And the reason is you're in a 24% tax bracket right now. Actually, you're probably lower than that. You're 22%.
No, because some of the pension's tax-free.
Some of the pension's tax-free. So you want to do that so that you can push as much away into savings as you can.
I mean, you are in such a different financial situation than you've been most of your life, right?
You
were married relatively young. You had a child. You've raised a child. Child's grown.
The child's a self-feeder now.
Yeah. So, I mean, your wife wants to spend, like, you can afford to spend some now, right? Like, you can afford to, let's do that, whatever you want to spend the money on. But as long as we're making sure that, because you're gonna get used to this lifestyle.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
I'd rather save it than spend it.
It'd probably be helpful to do some real planning and saying, if we want to retire at 60 or 65 or whatever the number is.
This is what we need to do.
Yeah. And that'll say, all right, in addition to the maximizing the 401k, do we need to save much more? How much more? But given the fact that it's...
Your new job, will it have a pension when you retire?
No.
No, I've got the 401k, and that's it. No other pensions through the new employer.
Okay, yeah. So you want to maximize the 401k, and then you want to make the IRA contributions non-deductible and convert them. Go ahead and convert that IRAs, both you and your spouse, immediately into a Roth. And you want to be as aggressive as you possibly can.
And you probably want to be saving some more.
And you probably...
Otherwise, I think really running some numbers to get it...
He knows exactly. This guy's super disciplined. He's beating himself up because he was
don't beat yourself up. You're in a great
He was living a little bit above your means while you were making this salary, but you're not living above your means now.
Maximize your 401k. Build up that emergency reserve. Call us in a year.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
You're great.
Great job.
I wouldn't worry about
Great
anything. And you've got tons of life insurance. If something happened to you, you're taking more than
good job. Make the IRA contributions, convert it to a Roth, and call us in a year, 18 months.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Appreciate the call.
Appreciate the call.
Let's talk now with Patricia. Patricia, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi.
I'm 62 years old. I have a rental property, and I have my primary residence, and I have an Airbnb. The rental property is really just breaking even over the last 10 years. By the time I pay taxes, insurance, property management fees, HOA, I've just really been breaking even over the last 6 years. I have my primary residence with a mortgage balance of $180,000.
What's it worth?
Then $1 million.
Okay.
What's the interest rate?
2.5%.
Wow. 30-year or 15-year?
15.
15-year.
And then I have the rental property. The interest on that is 7%, and I have a balance of $110,000. And the property is worth $330,000. So I kind of looked.
What'd you pay for it?
$200,000.
How long have you owned it?
I paid $180,000.
How long have you owned it?
Since 2010. So 12 years. Yeah.
All right. Tell us about the Airbnb.
The Airbnb takes care of itself and then some. So the Airbnb I owe $54,000 on, but it's the interest on that is also 7%, and but it's profitable. I'm turning a profit on it. I'm making about $1,000 a month after all expenses.
And what's the value of the property?
That's worth about 200 and maybe 250, about $250,000.
And what did you pay for it?
165.
Okay, what's your question for us?
So I had the rental property. The tenants just left, and I'm trying to decide. I also have a vacant land that I purchased that I want to build another Airbnb on. So I'm trying to decide if I should sell the rental property since I'm really not making any money. It's just there building equity. But recently, the area that it's in has become like saturated with lots of new homes and rental properties. So I'm trying to decide if I should sell it and use the money, because when I did all the numbers, at the end, I'm going to walk away with $296K if I get the asking price. And once I pay off the mortgage out of it, then I'll have $180,000 left, which I can use to pay off my existing mortgage.
But then you've got your silent partner, the tax man.
Yes, yes. So, and I have no write-off to my tax except for the rental property.
What?
My children are grown. I have no deductibles.
What's the rest of your financial situation look like?
Are you working, retired?
I'm working. I have no plans to retire. My job, I'm going to work as long as I can. And maybe not full time, but I already estimated I need about $60,000 a year to live, and I make about somewhere between $150,000 and $180,000 a year.
And how much money do you have in savings, brokerage, IRAs, that sort of thing?
401k.
Yeah, all of that I have about $700,000.
Have you thought about doing a tax-free exchange with the rental with a better rental that you can Airbnb?
What is? I'm sorry. A tax exchange?
A tax-free exchange.
Yeah.
And what is that? I don't know what that is. Sorry.
Well, I always get confused between 1031 and
1031.
1031. For whatever reason, I cannot.
1035 is in life insurance.
30-some years in this business, and I can never remember which one's 1031, which one's 1035. So it's called a 1031 tax-free exchange, and this enables you to sell that property, and as long as you buy something similar, a like-kind property, within, I believe it's 6 months on both the front and the back, you can defer all of that gain, so you pay no capital gain tax.
But I will eventually have to pay the capital gains, right?
Yeah, but if you can defer the capital gains, you have more capital working for you. So if the strategy is just to sell the rental, and you net, let's call it $200,000, you're going to have to pay.
It's a no-brainer.
Almost 30% for capital gain tax.
Right.
Yeah, and so when you said this vacant land, I don't know if it would be there or not there, but I would explore the 1031.
Yeah, so the vacant land is actually out of the country.
Okay, well okay. So a 1031 into an Airbnb, brilliant.
The Airbnb is not out of the country, is that right?
Yes, it's the vacant. Oh, yes, they are. They both are. Two different countries. They're both out of the country.
Wait. Where's the Airbnb?
One is in Jamaica, and the other one is the vacant land is in Costa Rica.
All right, well, go fish. I have no idea how it would work there.
But if I paid it.
You can't. I don't think you can do it. You can't do an exchange. Out of the U.S. But so.
But I can't. Could I? If I sold it and used the money to pay off my existing mortgage of the house I live in, I would still have to pay capital gains.
Oh yes,
of course.
Yes.
But if I bought another like property with it, I wouldn't.
In the U.S., if you follow the rules and use an intermediary to do the 1031 exchange, they're not that complicated.
Okay.
I've done them personally, and I've advised many clients over the years.
Yeah, but the problem is that you'd have to buy an Airbnb in the U.S. The rental property is in the U.S.
Okay, but let's say I'm going to do that, then I wouldn't end up paying off the mortgage because I'm just thinking I could be debt free.
You can't pay off the mortgage. You've got that. You probably $50,000, $60,000 in capital gain tax, maybe more.
Oh.
Maybe not that. What would you pay? $150,000 and the depreciation, $40,000 to $50,000 in capital gain tax between feds and.
Yeah, because my interest rate is so low on my present mortgage. I just thought, why don't I take the money out of the bank?
I would not pay off that primary mortgage.
You don't pay off the primary.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was getting confused there. Thank you for tracking.
could not imagine having a rental property outside of the United States. Having one in the same town, it could be challenging enough.
Yeah, and she wants an Airbnb outside the U.S. And by the way, the Airbnb is, it's popular for many investments. And when my family and I travel, we stay in VRBOs, which are
same thing.
Similar. Airbnb, someone could be living in the house.
Okay, but when you're traveling with your family, you're not looking for a room. You're renting the whole house.
Correct.
And sometimes you see the same property listed on both. If I've done the same, and I'll look for VRBO and Airbnb and rent wherever's cheaper. Because oftentimes they're listed on both.
That's right. And oftentimes they're actually listed on. You and I owned a weekly rental for years and years, and it would list on all of the things. But oftentimes, if it's a condo, let's say in a Marriott, it will be listed on the Marriott's website as well.
Yeah. What's your point?
My point being is that what you should worry about in these particular Airbnbs is the local legislation around them.
Oh, yeah.
So in South Lake Tahoe, which we are very familiar, both Scott and I are.
Because it's in our backyard.
Yes, they have. They put a moratorium on new Airbnbs or VRBOs,
and we took away the permits for many existing ones.
And
And there's another vote going on now
called an occupancy tax, which means they want to tax you if you're not if someone's not in the property.
You own a vacation home.
And it's not used at least half
of
the time.
They won't allow to rent. I don't know if that sounds. It doesn't sound. I heard about it the other day. It doesn't sound constitutional. But a vacation. If you want to own a vacation home there, they won't let you rent it. And if you don't live in it half the time, they're going to pay you an extra tax.
And the reason behind that is to actually push down property values in order that the workers that live there can actually afford to live there.
I can understand the principle behind it.
Yes.
Maybe you can.
But the Airbnbs and the VRBOs, they have lots and lots of risk in them. You have friends that. You read these articles about people, and then you read another article 3 days later where people are like dying with these things.
I had an acquaintance that didn't have was renting his house out, didn't have a permit, wasn't allowed to do it. He finally got busted on it.
Did he?
And he was telling me about all the money he's making on it in this place in Southern California. And I'm looking, I'm like, well, you're not allowed to do. Like, I'm thinking, how long do you think that's going to go on for?
Of course, you're doing well. It's illegal.
That's what I thought. There's lots of different things we could talk about that are illegal where you might make some money.
Yes, of course you're doing well. I robbed these banks. Listen, it worked perfect until the 13th one.
I want to talk about commercial real estate.
Okay.
And it is amazing the degradation of value that we've seen in particularly large inner city towers over the last 5 years.
Amazing. Just
like 60%, 70%, 80%, 90% decline in value.
And this affects not only the real estate holders, but many life insurance companies, right?
Yeah, they're big investors in this.
Yeah. And other financial institutions are big investors. Pension funds, big investors in commercial real estate. Insurance companies actually are direct investors, and they lend money to these sorts of enterprises.
And the challenge is, there's a couple challenges. One is most of these have loans. So even if someone was going to be conservative, there's a $100 million building, we're going to get 50% loan on it. Investors pool together. Maybe there's a pension fund invested some. Maybe there's a life insurance company and a couple developers. It's oftentimes how these.
So loan to value at the time that the loan was issued was 50%.
Yeah, just like if you put 50% down on your house,
which is super conservative, by the way.
Correct.
I mean, that would be a very conservative.
Nice conservative. Just 50% debt, no problem. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Right? So there's a couple things that happen. It's not just if you're current on your payments.
That's one thing.
So like when you buy a house, you get a mortgage, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, nobody cares what's going on in your personal life. As long as you're making the payments, they don't really care what your home is worth. On the back, there's nothing they can do about it.
They're not asking you what your income is.
No,
after the loan is made, as long as you're making the payment, they don't care whether you're employed or unemployed or what your other assets are.
Commercial property, on the other hand, they do ask what you're in. Like
They want to know what the revenue is and what the leases look like
exactly,
because they're going to run a formula to value that building.
and if you breach that covenant, whatever you agreed to, you're agreeing to make the payments, plus you're agreeing to having a certain amount of property leased at a certain price per lease. You're also agreeing that the amount of equity there is never going to go below a certain percent. So if the value declines, you got to put more capital in.
And how do they determine the value? Is they actually look at your rent roll. So Scott and I own a commercial building together, and I do the management of it. But once a year, and we have a small loan on it, and once a year we have to give them our rent rolls with the underlying leases. And they want to know what are you renting these? How many free months did you give? How long are the leases for? What's the credit worthiness of the tenants? And then they put a value on the building to determine whether the loan to value is in their ratio.
That's right. And if it's not, then
and if it's not, they can call the
by the
loan.
way, that's the only debt I have in my entire life is that,
Yes.
that one particular building. But
and we don't have a lot of that.
no, it's 20% maybe
loan to value. Yeah.
It's, but and it's not $100 million building like we were just talking about.
That's
Just
right.
Put that in perspective.
Okay. Yes. It's we used to have an office there.
Yeah, it's not a big, huge, fancy building. So what ends up happening now are these owners of these commercial properties are finding themselves in trouble. So we're in the Sacramento region. If you're in the Sacramento region, like the Darth Vader building, they call it the Darth Vader. It's this, 36, 40-story office tower in Sacramento that traded, and the numbers are off a bit.
It traded at 25% of what its
Roughly
maximum value was.
Of what it was, what someone paid for it. Maybe they think
7 to 8 years ago. Yes, 25% of what they paid for it is what it just traded at.
And so here's the snowball effect that happens, right? This is in every city.
So what happens is
this building was 36% leased or something like that, maybe less. The majority was empty. Tall office tower, empty. Sells. I don't know what the loan situation. It could have been a short sale, right?
Yeah, most likely.
Most likely there was debt on it worth more than that was.
Yes.
I don't know that much about it, but it's irrelevant but the challenge is this. Now
the new owners,
instead of paying $80 million, they paid $25 million or whatever the number.
So the new owners can actually lease the space for a lot less.
A lot less.
A lot less. Which does what?
Well, if you're a law firm or whatever business you got on the tower next door,
you move into this one because your rent is half what it is.
Or you negotiate with your existing landlord when your lease is coming up, saying,
and you push
I'm
down
no
the
longer
rents.
paying you $100,000 a year. I'm going to pay you $80,000 a year.
And it snowballs down. Right? Much as rents snowball up, right? Where a building owner will charge more if its neighbors are charging more.
Yes.
They snowball down as well. But the hardest part is they talk about converting these things to residential. The problem with that is how the floors are configured, the plumbing, the electricity, and the fact that the windows don't open. Or that you won't have a window. And by code, in most areas, if you have a bedroom, you must have a window. If you have a bedroom, you must have a window. Whether it opens or not, you have to have a window, which is kind of crazy.
I mean, obviously, a lot of our housing shortage is the fact that we have all these rules.
That's right.
Instead of say, go have at it, build yourself a shack, and I don't care what you do.
Yes. I mean, 100 years ago, you would have been happy to sleep indoors.
That's right.
Forget a window, right? So this, you read about and you hear about this conversion to housing and how this is going to fix, but the rules won't allow for it. But this is a play. This just tells you about investing. This was a play that big institutional investors were lending money and buying these properties because nothing could go wrong.
That's right. What could go wrong? Super conservative. Really low interest rates.
Super low interest rates.
Really low interest rates.
Which help drive the values.
I read an article this week in the Wall Street Journal about these New York families that have owned buildings. One family was over 100 years. They've had office towers.
They never sell.
Never sell. But
my grandfather said we never sell anything.
This is one family they were talking. There was 50 beneficiaries that were all part owners of this.
Holy smokes.
50. And they said,
and they all get along fine.
They're all super quality people too. Because they don't have to work so much, they're really giving their time to serving their fellow man.
Serving the community.
Who knows? I can only imagine what their family. Anyway,
So,
but they said that they moved from making distributions, which is what it's called in a partnership when you get a dividend, essentially. Moved from making distributions to having capital calls.
and a capital call is,
We need money to do this renovation, or we need money because we don't have enough rent, and you need to take some of your savings and send it to us.
and if you don't,
we're going to buy your interest out at
pennies,
pennies.
because we can.
And I think the reason I'm fascinated, I've been fascinated watching what's happening in this space, primarily because it's such a great reminder of you really never know what's going to happen in the future. And if all your investments has been in commercial property, I don't think anyone would ever have seen something quite like this.
That's correct.
With the pandemic, the lockdowns, the remote workers.
And Scott, I know people that are in commercial real estate, and they would tell you there's nothing. I won't invest in anything but commercial real
Correct.
estate. They would just flat out tell you.
I'm thinking a friend of mine, he's done very well. I think he had 8 or 10 good-sized commercial properties.
Like, you can't go wrong.
I haven't talked to him about his personal finances in a while, but I know that one of them, the big tenant, moved out. It's been vacant for a few years.
Yes. What's surprising is actually how well retail has been doing. But everything has its day in the sun. Every investment. And this just gets back to diversification,
That's
diversification,
right. Particularly if you are at a stage in life where you're more concerned about becoming poor than you are about becoming wealthier.
Think about that. What are most people's objectives in retirement?
Maintain my standard of living. If I have more, that'd be great.
But
If I could fly first class and stay at nice hotels, great. But I don't want to have to leave my house. I don't want to have to.
people get confused. They think that they want to get rich, and what they really want is to not be poor, to maintain their standard of living in retirement.
Yep.
That's the goal. If you're not flying first class by the time you retire, unless you've got a big windfall coming in, I got news for you. You may not be flying first class forever.
Yeah. Well,
unless you decide that you're going to change.
I don't think most people care about flying for it, but that's just kind of one example of.
I guess most people don't. I don't.
I mean, you look at the plane. Obviously, most people don't. There's a handful of first class, and almost everything's the back of the plane.
Good point.
Anyway, but it's just a good reminder, particularly if you're moving towards, if you're retirement age or getting close to that, of
diversify
for sure. Anyway, hey, we're about out of time here. I want to let people know we have a weekly email that goes out. I don't know if it's Tuesdays or Wednesdays, with lots of good information. We'll tend to have a little video on something, or anyway, it's topics that are relevant to our listeners of this podcast. And if you don't receive that, I'd encourage you to go to our website, allworthfinancial.com, and sign up for the newsletter. It'd be helpful for you. Anyway, that's all the time we have. We'll see you next week. This has been Allworth's Money Matters.
This program has been brought to you by Allworth Financial, a registered investment advisory firm. Any ideas presented during this program are not intended to provide specific financial advice. You should consult your own financial advisor, tax consultant, or estate planning attorney to conduct your own due diligence.